Hey guys, Lucky Tremendous here, and I'm back again for another episode of Lucky Talks TV. We're continuing today with episode 2 of season 2 of The Walking Dead, Bloodletting. Trust me, all the answers you guys have been asking for the questions of last week's episode are now going to come to fruition here. So, without further ado, my friends, let's begin talking about episode 2 of season 2 of The Walking Dead, Bloodletting. In a flashback to the same day Rick got shot, Lori is talking with one of her motherly friends about the fight that she and Rick had, about how she does feel bad about it, and she's even questioning if she even loves Rick anymore. After that's finished, Shane pulls up in the police cruiser and tells Lori that Rick was severely shot on duty. Lori then goes to tell her and Rick's son Carl about what happened, causing him to break down in tears. I have to say, a young Chandler Riggs crying has got to be one of the saddest things I've ever seen. You really just want to give him a hug, too. Really goes to show you how good of an actor he is. Back in the present, Carl has been accidentally shot by our newest minor character, Otis, who was hunting for the deer that was also shot. Otis brings Rick, Carl, and Shane to a farm owned by a man named Herschel Green, portrayed by the late, great Scott Wilson, for whom Otis works as a farmhand. Herschel lives with his two daughters, Maggie and Beth, played by Lauren Cohan and Emily Kinney, respectively. Also joined are two background characters, and I say background characters because they barely do anything of significance in the actual show. Beth's boyfriend, Jimmy, and Otis's wife, Patricia. He does successfully end up treating Carl, but he reveals that the bullet was broken into several fragments inside his body and have basically torn him apart from the inside out. Rick must donate blood in order to keep Carl alive for very long, which we learn that Rick and Carl have the same blood type, so call that fatherly bond, will ya? Meanwhile, while this is happening, Lori, Glenn, Carol, Daryl, and Andrea are still searching for Carol's daughter Sophia in the woods as they make their way back to the highway when they hear the gunshot. Meanwhile, back on the highway, Dale believes that T-Dog has contracted a blood infection from the wound he received in the previous episode, and both begin to search for antibiotics, but they fail to do so. Memorable moments from this part of the episode. Two things. Daryl makes it blatantly clear that praying to find Sophia will do jack crap. He basically says, because we're going to look at that little girl, she's going to be just fine. See, he doesn't believe they'll find her. He knows they'll find her. It definitely does go to show that, indeed, Daryl is more than his very brash action will let you on. He's got a really big heart, even if he doesn't like showing it. The second thing is, Andrea almost gets killed by a walker. And, oh boy, how do I describe this scene? If you guys have ever seen The Temple of Doom, I have a copy right over on my shelf here, and you know about Willie Scott, imagine Willie acting to anything in The Temple of Doom. That is Andrea's reaction to almost dying. It's one of the most annoying, high-pitched screams I've ever heard. Thankfully, it's one of the last times she ever does that. She also did it in episode 1, too, but I neglected to mention that. Also, back on the highway, T-Dog starts to hallucinate due to his blood infection, babbling on to Dale about how they're the weakest, how he's the one black guy, and that easily makes him a target. Even going so far as to say that they should abandon the others and take their chances on their own. But as we learn later on, it was simply the infection that was causing him to say those things. Back at the farm, Herschel tells everyone that Carl needs major surgery in order to live, and that he will need a respirator in order to do so. Otis suggests that they might find supplies at a nearby high school, where FEMA has set up a trailer, although the place is likely to be overrun with walkers. Otis and Shane decide to go get the supplies themselves, mainly because, well, for Shane, Rick is too sick to travel and needs him here, and he did say that to leave the rest to Shane, wanting to make up for past mistakes. I can tell he's really trying, and that he's really being an awesome guy right now. And of course, Otis, because, well, he shot Carl and he feels responsible, so it really does show that even though Otis is a minor character, he does have a big heart to go along with his big, rotund form, I should say. All the while, Maggie rides in on horseback, saves Andrea, and retrieves Lori from the group and brings her to the farm to see Rick and Carl, to which she arrives very distraught and ridiculed with tears in her eyes. All the while, as Lori goes inside to check on Carl, Rick and Herschel discuss the epidemic. It's the beginning of what many might consider Herschel and Rick's very good mutual understanding. Rick tells Herschel about the destruction of the CDC and that there's likely no cure to the Walker epidemic, but Herschel still has faith that there could be one. Mankind's been fighting plague since the start. We get our behinds kicked for a while, then we bounce back. It's nature correcting herself, restoring some balance. I just love Scott Wilson. Everything he does in this show is awesome, no matter what. The group searching for Sophia finally returns to the highway, where Daryl, after being heard of that T-Dog needs some medicine, reveals that he has a big bag containing all of Merle's painkillers and antibiotics, including his clap medicine, and some blue meth. Nice Breaking Bad Easter egg right there. As they decide to do before heading down to the farm, Dale, Daryl, Carol, and Andrea decide to stay on the highway to see if Sophia still comes back, while Glenn takes T-Dog back to the Herschel farm. Meanwhile, near the end of the episode, at the high school, Shane and Otis retrieve the supplies after distracting the walkers away and begin to head back when they're spotted by every walker in the damn school. The two have no choice but to make a break for it, but end up having to barricade themselves inside the high school, very low on supplies, and as the walkers gang up outside for them as the episode starts to end. I gotta say, Bloodletting is a good episode. It has good suspense, good acting, good storytelling. A lot of changes to the book, though, because in the book, Carl was shot in the shoulder, and all Herschel did was take it out. In the show, he's shot in the stomach. The bullet breaks apart, and it adds so much more layers to this story. Another fine example of this cast and crew putting all of the effort into making the book's story even better, I have to say. The introduction of Herschel, Maggie, and Beth go a long way in this story. You'll be seeing them a lot as I continue to talk about this show. And I would be very unfortunate to tell you guys that shortly before Season 9 of The Walking Dead aired last year, Scott Wilson passed away of leukemia. It was a very sad thing for everyone involved. I didn't want to admit it, but I fear that we all knew this day was coming sooner rather than later. I mean, it was great seeing them for the first time, and if you're as big of a fan of the show as I am, you'll appreciate these guys as well. I won't let you guys down. So if you guys are new to this show, Bloodletting is a good episode, a very nice transition away from the season premiere, and it keeps the story going. Even more so, want you guys to check out episode 3, because, mind you, episode 3 is a doozy. Or is it? You'll have to come back and see for yourself. Thank you guys so much for watching my look into episode 2 of season 2 of The Walking Dead, Bloodletting. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for a chance to see more videos like this, and to keep this channel going. Without further ado, my friends, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!